Again, my name is Dr. John Kenneth Press, and I'd like to thank you for having me back.
Oh, my
Um,
pleasure.
yeah, I'm here to talk about culturism. Culturism is the opposite of multiculturalism. And again, whereas multiculturalism says that the West really is just a neutral space, it has no culture. Culturism says, no, we do have a culture, and we have a right to define it, protect it, and promote it.
Yeah, fair enough. In fact, it seems that it seems in the standard version of multiculturalism, the only culture that doesn't have any right to exist is ours.
Well, actually, it's worse than that, right? No, you're right. You're right, but we don't even have a culture. To assert that we have a culture is racist.
Well, that's the excuse they use to not let us have our own.
Right, right, right. And so you asked me, what do I think about recent events? I think that these are defining times. These are really important times, and it's time for us to define the rhetoric, define the arguments that are happening, because they're literally defining times. We've got to define the terms about what's going on. For example, right now, there are 60,000 children who have come from Latin America to our southern border, and we're housing them in military camps. I don't know when people will be watching this, but we're recording this in June of 2014. And last year, in 2013, the whole year we had 6,500 young people come unaccompanied across our border. They're projecting it's going to be 150,000. So what we have here is an invasion, and they're throwing everything they have at us to push this towards amnesty, right? They're saying that, oh, the individual children are crying, right? This is a humanitarian crisis. We're hearing that so much. We've got to be able to fight these things with the words culturism and culturist. Culturism again says that we do have a traditional majority culture and a right to protect it. And these children who are coming, they're not Americans. This word is totally out of fashion, but let me say it, they're foreigners. Okay, we have a culture. They are Latinos. They speak Spanish. They have their own heroes, their own outlook on life. Our culture is very specific. We do have a culture. This is one of the things that culturism wants to set straight. Again, multiculturalism says we don't. We're a little bit Islamic. We're a little bit Latino. We don't really have a... We do. Okay, well, I'll give you one straight out that's so obvious. We speak English. These children don't speak English. They largely speak Spanish, right? Some of them are speaking Arabic, because I'm assuming people are taking advantage of this. There you go. There's one. Individualism, free speech, the relative separation of church and state, democracy. These are our values. You might say, whoa, 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 whoa. Globalists will say, no, these are world values. No, we've got to fight this globalist humanitarian rhetoric. These are Western values. China doesn't believe in democracy. You think that Iran believes in the separation of church and state? These are not global values. These are Western values. In America, we have something else. We have the idea of self-invention, right? This is the new world. Multiculturalism is fundamentally anti-American. It's saying, no, 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 the old world. You want to look back at the old world. We don't want to look back at we come here, we invent ourselves, right? We are individualist. We are self-reliant. We have the new, we look forward to creating the new things. So this multiculturalism is really anti-American, and individualism again, freedom of speech, separation of church and state. These are Western things, and I would say that this sort of Protestant work ethic and individualism and self-reliance, these are American traits.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also interesting, just to take your position a tiny bit further, it's interesting that the Saudis are funding in a very big way what they call interfaith committees at every level, whether it's international through the OIC, or whether it's national through federal governments, or whether it's right down to municipalities and individual church committees. The Saudis are funding interfaith with the specific, and it's been discovered, the specific intention of building a one-way bridge from Islam to every other faith group, while forbidding by law the entrance to their entire country of even so much as a Bible. And of course, there's signs outside two cities saying, non-Muslims turn away here.
There are different roads. Look, I don't begrudge them that. All nations are culturists. They're good culturists. They protect their culture. They promote their culture. They're trying to spread their culture. God bless them. That's what we should do. That's what China does. That's what Mexico does. Mexico has a very solid southern border with Guatemala. We have to have our border. We are the only people on earth that are multicultural. We've got to wake up and we've got to go back to what we have traditionally been, which is traditionally we've been a culturist nation. Do you know about our 1924 immigration law?
No idea.
Well, this was a law. It's an amazing law. It happened during the last surge of immigration, and it said, look, we're going to restrict basically immigration to people from Northwest Europe. It said that people can come in at 2% of their population, not in 1924, but in 1890. Well, that meant, as we were a Protestant Northwestern European nation, that meant that that culture would be perpetuated and it would be dominant. This has been our tradition. That was only overturned in 1965. And you know, people say, we're a nation of immigrants. We are a culturist nation. We have always had culturist laws. I'm not saying it's right, but did you know that during World War II, FDR wouldn't even let the Jews into America?
Yeah, Canada certainly would not.
Right, because it wasn't a racist thing. It wasn't because they weren't white, right? It was because our culture has always defined itself as being a Protestant Northwestern Europe-based culture. And to say, well, we're a nation of immigrants, it's worse than a half-truth. It's destroying our identity. It's aggressive. So, you know, they're going to say we're a nation of immigrants. We've got to let these children in. No, there's a such thing as Americans and a such thing of people who are not Americans, right? They don't speak English. You ask for attributes that are American. Our heroes, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, right? The Puritans, they don't have these in their constellation. Their loyalty is to another country, another flag, other heroes. They have their own music. God bless them. You know, let them stay home and be culturist. I don't begrudge them that, but that's their culture. It's a foreign culture. We have our own culture. And our history it shows it. It shows it. This only changed with the 1965 Immigration Act. And, you know, they want to say, oh, this is a racist nation. We've always been intolerant. Okay, well, we have always been culturist. But you can't turn around and say, well, we've always been a multicultural nation. Okay, either we were intolerant or we were multicultural. And the record is clear. We've always been a culturist nation. And that's why this is a defining moment, because they're going to tell us, well, everybody is American, right? Everybody can come. Everybody is American. There's no such thing. It's a defining moment. It's a moment for us to stand up and say, no, we have a culture. These people are foreigners. Remember that word? Foreigners. We've got to define ourselves at this moment. And a way to do it, again, is to fight against multiculturalism and not just say, yeah, I don't like multiculturalism. Say that I am culturist. I believe in the opposite, culturism. Just like China, just like Saudi Arabia. Our culture exists and we have a right to protect it. And that's what I stand for. And you know, they'll say it's racist. It's racist to say that we're American because then you're saying brown people are, you know, Latinos are not American. Well, no, it's nothing to do with that, right? There are many fine brown-skinned people and black-skinned people who are fine Americans, but this takes time. This takes a lot of years, right? Again, to ask for attributes of our culture, you've got to know about our history. You've got to know about George Washington. You've got to speak our language, learn our language. You've got to hold the survival and success of America as your highest priority. You can't be sending money back to the old world. That doesn't, you know, especially in a time of debt, that doesn't make you American. It's nothing to do with skin color, though. This is a culturist thing. We have a culture. We need to assimilate people into our culture, right? But to do this, we need a couple of things. One thing is we need to get rid of multiculturalism, and our schools have to be like Iran schools, like China schools, like every country. Our schools have to be culturists. They have to say, we have a culture, it's a great culture, it's the best culture, Forget about your backward culture, join our culture. But this takes time. It also takes demographics. If you have an area that is largely Spanish speaking, the people that move there assimilate to the majority culture. This is what they do. So to have an area that is largely Spanish speaking and then push Spanish in the schools and then invite more people in, it divides your nation. It is creating an area that is not American. And I say that without apology. This is not a racist statement. It's a culturist statement. We have a culture, and to bring in people and create areas where they're not in the American culture and then promote that they keep their culture, that multiculturalist vision is anti-American. And again, we need to be culturists. We need to define this time right now and say we're sick of it. We have a culture. We're a culturist nation. You're foreigners. You need to be bussed back to where you came from.